Welcome back to the Toppy Blues, your source for all things Everton. My name's Connor Williams, and we're back with another video on the channel. Today, it is none other than the Jack Harrison debate. We'll be debating Jack Harrison, how he's been getting on. Obviously, he is alone, so there is the potential that he will either go back to Leeds or Everton will push to buy him. And that's mainly what the debate is. If you're Everton, from what you've seen this season, you being the Blues, because we ran a poll on Twitter. So the fans, what I think, ultimately it falls with what the club and the manager think, but it's nice to get a bit of a conversation going about it. So yeah, before we get into your opinions and mine, let's have a look at some of his stats this season. So he started 20 matches, played in 22, 1,735 minutes, 3 goals and 3 assists. Two of his goals come in, one against Tottenham. He got one against Luton in the FA Cup, and then you'd have to go as far back as Man City for his next goal. His assists, he also got one against Bournemouth and Spurs again. His assist came against West Ham and Bournemouth as well, I believe. So compared to other midfielders, he's an interesting player, Jack Harrison. I think his numbers, we'll go into more of his stats now, but just asterisks. I think his stats aren't going to always say what he does for the team. So his expected goals this season is 3.17. He's got 3 goals. So if anything, he's slightly underperforming, ever so slightly, but pretty much on the money for it. Goals per game, 0.1. Shots per game, 1.1. Shots on target per game, 0.4. And he's missed 2 big chances. So straight from the off, he's got 2 left-footed goals, which he is, and 1 right-footed goal. Straight from the off, XG-wise, he's about bang on. The chances he's got this season, he's taken a high goal score. He's had 3 really good goal-scoring chances, and he's got 3 goals, so you could argue he's took them. The worry for me is that I think 3.17 is quite a low XG for a player who is our more attacking player. But then when you look at his shots per game, 1.1 shots per game, 0.4 on target, I think that sort of underlies a bit of a problem with him for me. I don't think he's not getting as many attacking threats as I'd like. He's not getting as many shots away, which then makes me go, well, what's his passing been like? His expected assists is 2.46 and he has 3 assists. So he's overperforming by nearly half, just over half. 35.2 touches, 5 big chances created, and 1 key pass per game. Accurate passing per game is 12.9 accurate passes, so that's about 70%. Again, it's not great. It's not awful, but it's also, I'd say if this is bang average and this is woeful, I'd say he's skating in the middle of the two there, to be honest. Which then makes me think the third thing, which is the reason I think we play him is, well, how does he do defensively? Because, this is a Dyche setup. 0.4 interceptions per game, 1 tackle per game, wins possession 0.5 times, balls recovered per game 4.5, dribble pass per game 1.1, and clearances per game 0.7. He does tend to win. He doesn't tend to win most of his ground duels or his total duels. He loses possession 13.6 times, and has only been fouled once. So his defensive are impressive for a winger. I will say this: they are okay for a winger. I don't think they're amazing, but they're okay for a right wing. What is meant to be a right winger. Obviously, we play in right midfield, and it's that inverted winger type role. In the 4-4-1-1, 4-5-1, however you want to look at that. His defensive stats are very, very interesting. He's almost like a Dwight McNeil, sort of in terms of the type of style of winger he is. getting back. You can sort of see it in the way he plays. Um, it's very, very interesting. Tackles and interceptions wise, they're not brilliant compared to the other wingers in the league. Um, you know, his attacking um his attacking stats are okay. His passing stats are just okay as well, and his defending is just meh. He does have a lot of progressive carries, successful take-ons, stuff like that. So he does drive the ball up via dribbling, which don't get me wrong, you know, I don't think you can underestimate, sorry, that type of player that can drag the ball up. I think that's why a lot of fans have been wanting to see Danjuma, because for whatever, his decision making in that final third, his shooting, it can be a bit hit and miss. He does drive the ball at pace up the field. And there is an argument that Everton need that at the minute. Somebody to grab the game and just run it up the field. So he does do that. He's good at pressing as well. His first touch is nice. Long balls are a bit to be desired, and he's not going to win any aerial duels. Before we get into your comments, I'll just give mine now. I think he's an okay player. I don't think I would like to see him back here next year. It is all dependent on the fee that Leeds ask. Leeds are more than likely going to come up. I know Leeds fans aren't keen on any of the players that left them when they went down. There is this sort of mentality in the Leeds fan base from a couple of Leeds fans I've spoke to. This isn't me riffing. This is from word of mouth, because I wouldn't want to put words in their mouths. But there is this sort of attitude of the players who left, sort of, fine, we'll do it, we don't want you type of mentality, which I think is fair. I think Everton fans can resonate with that. I think we've shown that a couple of times. Look at the Anthony Gordon stuff. I think we've shown that we can be one of those fan base where if a player thinks, pastures new, especially at a tough time in the club when the club's going through a tough period, I fully believe our fans would have that attitude as well. So Leeds fans don't particularly want him. They might come round though, because he came round to Nanto after his transfer saga with us in the summer. It's what Leeds demand for him. If they've come up, they'll have, come up. They might deem it as don't really need the money. Let's try and have Everton off though, because if they survive in the Premier League, although the FFP rules look like they're about to change, that could get them. They might see a place for him. They might just try and cash in on him. It would depend on the fee, but also unless he's going for really, really cheap, I can't see me wanting him back unless it's really, really cheap, because we do need bodies. And that's what it would be for me. It'd be get a body in the door type of vibe. Now, attacking attribute, pressing wise, like I said, he's decent. I think when he gets the ball, I think he stops an awful lot with it. This is just off the eyes. And it's not particularly Harrison's fault here. This might fall on the man in charge. I just think when you look at the players we've got up front, Beto, Calvert-Lewin, they're big lads, and we're knocking long balls, crosses into the box, which is fine. I particularly think with a higher class of players, no one would have an issue with the way we play. I actually think that it's quite entertaining at times, how quickly we get the ball up, how direct we can be. I mean, people might disagree and might want passing around the back line for 5-10 minutes before you even try and make a move up the field. That's your cup of tea. That's your prerogative. I'm just saying mine. I like football being get the ball, win it back, get it up. With a better quality of players, it'd look a bit better. I just think though, because he's left-footed, he has to move on to his left foot a bit too much for me, and it robs us of that first-time cross. Similar to when James Garner moved out there for Beto's goal the other week. It was saw the run, crossed it nicely, no happen to move on your stronger foot, and it worked effectively. Now, this might be archaic of me, but I'd have a left-footed winger and a right on the left and a right-footed winger on the right, and you just say cross the ball in. If you've got big lads like that, play to your strengths. Obviously, if we were a different team on a different style and we had the different players, I'd say there's a room for him to cut in, um, and try and take shots. And like if we were City and our wingers had all the time in the world because of the way they build up, and they could, take the ball out wide and cut in and run at the fullback like that and make it awkward for them. I'd say there's a place for him on the right hand side with his left foot. But I think in our setup where we're wanting to get the ball forward as quickly as possible, him moving onto his left foot just hinders us a little bit. Is there scope for him to be on the left? Yeah, yeah, I'd like to see that, to be honest. Dwight McNeil has got a lot going on in his personal life. I think he's tired as well sometimes. I wouldn't be opposed to maybe switching it and letting Harrison go there. I also think, though, by the way, Dwight McNeil, I think there's a shout for him to play in the centre in the Decore role. His long shots the last couple of games have been struggling to keep her. So, but yeah, I digress. So we asked, obviously, on the Toffee Blues, we said, Jack Harrison debate, let us know all your thoughts on his season so far, followed by, would you sign him permanently? 2,518 of you voted, 48.5% said no, 27.2% said I don't know, and 24.4% said yeah. Reading some of your ones out, we'll read some from this and then some from the would you sign him, because this is sort of asking how you think his season's gone, and the other one's asking would you sign him, and people will reply different things. So looking at it now, we've got at Tom Chitty going, depends on the fee, obviously. Don't think it's sensible judging him yet, as he started well, but with a new right back every week and no creative midfielders to feed him, he's run dry. He'll improve if the squad does, which I think is a fair point by Tom there. I think, it doesn't help that he's having to track back as well, because the right backs are a bit hit and miss at the minute. So I can see where Tom's coming from there. At Limphy number 2 said playing him out of position isn't helping, but if Leeds want 40 mil, that's 25 mil too much for me. Like I said, a lot of people have said here it depends on the fee. Liam at Urunian says wants to carry the ball, but is always 2 versus 1, no overlap from the fullback unless Coleman plays. Again, I said that he brings the ball up the field, but Liam makes a great point there. There is only, when he's up against the winger and the fullback, he's heavily outnumbered. He needs support. Godfrey at right back won't offer that. Patterson does get forward, but not enough. It's mad that we're dependent on Seamus Coleman at his age to be doing that. Danny Walker at Danny Walker EFC put disappointing. I thought he'd be a good signing, but hasn't lived up to expectations. Dyche needs to let him go. And Billy Fox says send him back unless it's a free, which isn't happening. 10, 12 million, no chance. Stephen at Stephen Stephen R62 AH62 can't fully judge him until Dyche plays him on the left, where he played for Leeds. Not his fault he's been played out of position and having to cut back in on his left foot all the time, which again I've just said, and I fully agree with Stephen there. I think him cutting in his left foot hinders us slightly. I'd love to see him on the left where he doesn't have to cut in on his left foot. I think not just him, I think any player, any inverted winger that does that, I think it does slow down the game. Obviously, like I said, if you're a Man City, you can afford that. If you're in Everton, where your whole ethos is to get it back up the field, you can't afford that. That'd be the same as him stopping and just, dawdling with the ball. Onto the would you sign him permanently? At DFan104 says depend on the price. At Craig Gordon 95 says can't see it, but if Leeds want any less than 12, then yeah. Anything over and no. Not being impressed with him. Surely any decent scout can find a winger with better output than Harrison's producing. At Toffee Lou said for the price maybe. He needs to show more though. His assists and finishing has disappeared. Lad scored double figures for Leeds. That's a good point as well. He was a good player for Leeds last season. The season before. He has been good for Leeds. Aidan Dews, who is Aid_Dews, said shows little glimpses, works hard, but not offering enough, really. And I think that's the overarching sort of conclusion to this is there are glimpses of a player. We have seen it. He works hard. I'm not, I can't fault his work ethic. Um, it's just he needs to show more with the numbers, and that I think that is a little bit playing out of position. I would like to see him on the left. I'd love to see McNeil in the middle. That would work if you don't want to drop McNeil. McNeil, though, I think could do with being having a little rest, not dropped, because drop's such a horrible word, and it's not nice to say drop a player when you know they've got stuff going on off the field. Because for all we know, football might be his escape here. Um, I'd move him to the middle, see how he does there, to be honest, because his long shots are decent. But Harrison, I do think needs to be back on the left. Maybe then you can get Dan Zuma on the right hand side for that pace. And then it doesn't matter if the fullback's not running overlapping because Dan Zuma's not going to stop and let the fullback catch up. He is very much a get the ball, run, take a shot type of player. And as much as it infuriates me sometimes, I do think maybe that is needed at the current minute. We need to get better quality shots on goal. And while our XG is good, we need to get better non set piece XG because a lot of it's coming from set pieces, which is okay. I'm fully for taking advantage of little bits of the game. Like it's good that we're taking advantage of the set pieces and creating chances off that. These small marginal gains are how you get well. We just need to improve it on non-penalty, non-set piece XG. I'd just be a bit more clinical in our shooting as well. I think sometimes calmer heads as well. Onana and Idrissa Gueye known for hitting it outside the area. Other than that, those two have brilliant games. I've got no qualms with Onana or Gueye. Just don't have pot shots from outside the area, lads. I've not yet seen any of them test the keeper. But on Harrison, I think it would really depend on the fee for me overall. I'd like to see him on the if we don't see him on that left and he carries on the way he is, I think it's going to be a no. If he shows a bit of promise though, it's a yeah. But again, depends on the fee because it's not like we've got loads of money at the minute. With ownership in the air and FFP in the air, well, PASR, PAP and SR. But let me know your thoughts down below. Look forward to reading them. See you soon.